A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. The novel is set against the turbulent backdrop of the French Revolution and juxtaposes London and Paris, the two cities of the title. Dickens opens with the famous line about it being the best of times and the worst of times, establishing the contrasts: wealth and poverty, reason and madness, peace and violence, and the intertwined fates of individuals on either side of the English Channel. Part I. Recalled to life. The story begins in 1775. Dr. Alexandre Manette, once a respected Parisian physician, has been unjustly imprisoned in the Bastille for 18 years. He is finally released and recalled to life, but is mentally fragile, obsessively making shoes a coping mechanism developed during his confinement. He is brought to England by Mr. B.E. Jarvis Lorry, a banker affiliated with Tellson's Bank, and reunited with his daughter, Lucy Manette, who thought her father was dead. Lucy's compassion and presence gradually restore his sanity. Lucy becomes a symbol of compassion, constancy, and emotional anchoring. She and her father settle in London. Lucy's beauty and goodness attract a circle of people around her. The steadfast Englishman, Mr. Stryver, the quiet and introspective Sidney Carton, and others. Sidney Carton is introduced as a dissipated, wasted, brilliant lawyer's associate who carries self-loathing. He recognizes in Charles Darnay, a French aristocrat by birth who has renounced his family's oppressive legacy and fled to England. A resemblance physically similar, but morally divergent. Darnay is on trial in England, accused of being a French spy, but is defended by Carton, who, despite his cynicism, delivers the key legal assistance, and acquitted. Lucy and Darnay fall in love and marry, bringing Dr. Manette, who had a fragile relapse due to traumatic memories of his imprisonment, some peace. His relapse is triggered by the revelation that Darnay is an Evremond, the aristocratic family responsible for grave injustices. But through Lucy's love and the work of Mr. Lorry, Manette recovers, and the marriage proceeds. Darnay and Lucy have a child. Part 2. The Golden Thread. 6 years later, the narrative shifts more heavily to France, where the revolution is fermenting. The peasantry, long abused and starving under the ancient regime, particularly by the aristocratic Evremond family, suffers in poverty and humiliation. The revolution explodes in a violent, vengeful uprising. The novel portrays both the idealism of liberation and the bloody excesses that follow. The peasant's suffering morphs into ruthless, often blind, revenge. The Jacquerie is personified in vengeful mobs and the wine cask scene, where the desperate populace crowds into the streets to drink spilled wine, a powerful symbol of pent-up hunger and suppressed humanity erupting. In Paris, characters like Madame Defarge, a bitter, relentless revolutionary, knit the names of enemies into her register. She is the embodiment of unforgiving vengeance. Her husband, Ernest Defarge, once Manette's servant and now a revolutionary leader, is conflicted, showing some remnants of earlier compassion but largely caught up in the movement. Madame Defarge's motivation is deeply personal. Her family was ruined and destroyed by the aristocratic Evremonds generations before. Meanwhile, in England, Carton, who has never been able to commit, long resigned to wasting his life, sees in Lucy and her family a chance at meaning. His admiration for Lucy becomes a kind of selfless love, even though he knows she will never reciprocate romantically. Carton's internal conflict deepens. He is brilliant, capable of great sacrifice, yet feels trapped by his own inertia. The revolutionary tide in France pulls Charles Darnay back. He learns that a former servant, Gabelle, imprisoned by counter-revolutionaries, has written begging for help. Out of a sense of obligation, Darnay returns to Paris, where he is arrested not despite his renunciation of aristocratic privilege, but because of his name. He is imprisoned and sentenced to death by the new order. Part 3. The Track of a Storm. Dr. Manette, whose influence from his imprisonment gives him some leverage, attempts to use his reputation among the revolutionaries to save Darnay. He sacrifices his own hard-won peace by revealing the hidden story of what the Evremond brothers, Darnay's ancestors, did to his family. the brutal abuse of a peasant woman that resulted in the death of her child and the rape of her sister, which led to tragedy. The revelation, instead of saving Darnay, inflames the revolutionary fury. The people now see Darnay as the symbol of the monstrous aristocratic lineage. As the noose tightens, Carton hatches a plan. He's long been aware of his physical likeness to Darnay. Carton arranges, through a network, with the aid of Lucy's loyal friend Miss Pross and the resourceful Englishman Jerry Cruncher, to switch places with Darnay in prison. Carton, using drugs and subterfuge, enables himself to be taken to the guillotine in Darnay's place, while Darnay and Lucy escape to safety in England with their child. Carton's final act is the central moral and emotional core of the novel. He walks to his death with a clarity and nobility that had been absent from his life. He reflects on the meaning of his sacrifice. It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known. Through this act, he redeems his wasted intellect and self-loathing by offering true love and salvation to others, becoming the recalled-to-life figure in his own right, a mirror to Manette's earlier resurrection. Meanwhile, Madame Defarge, seeking revenge even on the innocent, pursues Lucy and her family. In a confrontation at the Manette lodgings in Paris, Madame Defarge is killed accidentally by her own gun in the struggle with Miss Pross, and her vengeance dies with her. The revolution, already monstrous in its transformations, shows that the cycle of hatred eats its own. Resolution. Themes. Darnay, safely back in England, lives a quiet life with Lucy and their son. Carton's sacrifice is hidden from most. His heroism remains largely unrecognized publicly, but those closest like Lucy and Dr. Bunce, Manette, feel its weight in their peace and future. The novel ends with an almost prophetic vision of Carton's legacy, the hint that his name, though unspoken, will inspire hope, and that the world may one day learn of the breadth of his sacrifice. A prophetic note suggests that Carton's spirit will echo in future generations, implying that his act of love has lasting, ripple effects. Major characters. Charles Darnay, a French aristocrat who rejects his family's cruelty. He seeks a clean life in England, but is pulled back into the revolution's violence due to his lineage. Sidney Carton, a dissipated English lawyer whose self-hatred eventually transforms into the ultimate self-sacrifice. Lucy Manette, the moral center, kind, loving, and steadfast. Her presence recalls to life those around her. Dr. Alexandre Manette, once unjustly imprisoned, mentally scarred, but gradually healed through love and care. Madame Defarge, the personification of vengeful revolution, cold, implacable, knitting the fates of her enemies. Ernest Defarge, her husband, torn between revolutionary zeal and residual human compassion. Miss Pross, Lucy's loyal companion, representing fierce, protective love. Jerry Cruncher, a humorous, rough-around, the edges odd, job man whose involvement becomes pivotal in Carton's plan. Mr. Jarvis Lorry, the rational banker, a symbol of duty and quiet steadiness. Themes. Resurrection and transformation. The motif of being recalled to life recurs. Manette from prison, Carton from wasted existence. Redemption through sacrifice is central, duality and contrast. The two cities, the two men, Darnay and Carton, who are physically similar yet morally divergent, and the juxtaposition of love and hate, peace and violence. Revenge versus justice. The revolution starts with a demand for justice but devolves into blind, brutal revenge, embodied in Madame Defarge's vendetta. Sacrifice. Carton's selfless act is the emotional climax, implying true love is giving the best of oneself for others. Fate and choice. The characters often feel bound by lineage or circumstance, yet their choices, Darnay's renunciation, Carton's sacrifice, define their moral arcs. Conclusion. A Tale of Two Cities is both a historical novel and a moral drama. Through interwoven personal stories amid societal upheaval, Dickens explores how love, sacrifice, and redemption can transcend cycles of violence and despair. Sidney Carton's transformation from a jaded, wasted man into a heroic figure encapsulates the idea that even the most broken can find meaning, and that selfless love can rewrite destiny.